Welcome to the library's first Take and Make Creative project for adults. This is a brief demo of some basic watercolor techniques you may wish to use in creating your own bookmark, gift tag, and greeting card. When you request and pick up your watercolor package through our curbside service, you will receive a bag of all your supplies for your watercolor fun. And it will look like this. The other thing, of course, you will need is a cup of water and a paper towel. Let's open the package and see what is inside. You will have a palette for blending colors, which you have 3 colors in these little containers, and you'll take the lid off to use them in just a moment. There should be a paintbrush. It has a small lid on it to take off. I'm going to go ahead and put it in the water just to get it to not be stiff. There's also a crayon in here we will use at some point, along with your 3 pre-cut and sized watercolor paper items. Your gift tag, which is this one, a bookmark, and a greeting card. As you can see, which I have upside down, is right here. These are all made of watercolor paper, so it's usually 140-pound weight, so it's thicker, more fibrous to absorb and hold the water and the color. One thing to remember about watercolor is that what makes it so fun is that it's not easy to control, even though some people might say that's not the fun part, but I say let go and see what happens with the colors and the water and how it dries. It can create some really interesting mixtures and designs. So I am going to use some watercolor paper that I have sectioned off in some small spaces with painter's tape. Clear my space here a bit. So I'm going to use this to demonstrate some common, fun watercolor techniques that you may wish to try as you create. We had a patron who tried this out for us, and here are some really lovely creations that unfortunately this camera does not do the color justice. They're very vibrant. She made a bookmark. She actually made all 3, but she still has the gift tag. And really fun. I really wish you could see how vibrant these colors are on her greeting card. So I'm going to show you some techniques that you might want to use, and we're going to use the colors. You'll take the lid off. We have a yellow shade and a red shade and a blue shade. As you probably will recognize, some nice common primary colors, which is always fun and good for mixing. So I'm going to just start out with the most basic thing, and that's a flat color, just coloring across, and I'll use this blue here. Obviously, the more water that you add to watercolor, the looser the color. The less water, the more intense. So you have to decide how you want it to be. Now, I normally wouldn't do this with a paintbrush, but because this is so tiny, I am going to it will take me a long time to fill up the square if I don't use the side of it. I would normally just paint like that or down that way. But in interest of trying to fill this space in a flat color, I'm going to go with the side of it. So basically, when I say a flat color, I'm trying to just get an even tone across the whole space, not particularly going from dark to light or light to dark. Just a sort of even tone. And like I said, in order to get this done, I'm kind of smushing it along the side. If you have a bigger, flatter brush, that would be better if you happen to have one, but this will work. And it actually, and you can go back and kind of flatten out the color. Obviously, too, the more water that you put on your paper, the more it starts to wrinkle or draw up a little bit. But we're going to just let that dry, a nice, flat, pretty blue color. While I go on to the next technique, which is basically a fade out kind of technique. So I'll use the red next, which is right next to us. And I'm going to start, I always put my brush in the water first to get a little water and then decide how intense I want the color. But this is just painting across with the most intense color first, and however far down you want to go with it. Let's use that. That's beautiful, again, beautiful color. So when you fade out, you're merely going to put your brush back into the water without going into the color again, and then come down a little bit, and then again, and then come down a little bit. And each time it's going to get lighter. You'll see that. Strikes a nice fade out. Until it gets less and less color. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and use that fade out. I just stuck my finger in the color over here before it was dry, which is typical of me. I will use the paper towel, take a piece of it, and just kind of scrunch it up a little, and however you want. And this is to subtract the color away, and it kind of blots and makes, you can kind of make a cloud effect, you know, just play with the color, which I can see was kind of, I left a stripe there in it. So I'm going to just come out and take some of that, and you know, you can play with how you want to bring that in or out and make some sort of cloud effect or just some haziness, and just play with it. See what you want to do with it. I'm actually going to put the color back into that piece right there. And you might want to just blot this into a little bit more even lighter kind of thing where it's, I just think it's fun to see what it does and see what effect it creates. I have a lot of fun with that. Another technique, and I did not, we did not include in your package any salt, but knowing that a lot of you will probably have access to salt, whether it be a shaker of salt or some that you can open and pour into your hand and then use your fingers. That is a really cool technique when it dries, and some of you may know that, have used that and know what I'm talking about. But your paint has to be wet. So I would just paint a little to demo this. I'm going to make some wet paint in this square so we can see what happens with the salt. So I enjoy using the salt shaker, but you would have more control if you poured some, excuse me, into your hand and used your fingers, because you can control where you want to place it. If you want to be meticulous about it, I'm just going to create that salt effect, and it doesn't take very much. You're going to soon see that it pops up. What it's actually going to do, I don't know if you can see the grains of salt on there, is going to eat away the color. So we have to let it totally dry. And once it's totally dry, the salt will be dry on top, and you'll want to brush that off. And you'll see, hopefully, really, really cool effect. Almost, to me, it's almost like snowflakes. Now, another fun thing to do is to just go along your paper and wet it with your brush, with a clean, wet brush. And speaking of the water, that's totally, you kind of watch. If you find that your water gets too dirty, you can dump it out and get a clean cup. But mine's doing all right so far. So there are a few things you can do with this. And this is one of the things I think it's so much fun, is to watch what effect it does. So I'm going to dip my brush in the water again. I'm just going to use this lovely red, which I'm partial to. Again, I'm adding more water as I feel the need to. And I'm just going to kind of like straight come down and touch it and see what it does. Can you see how it's, I know it's kind of hard to see how it's kind of explodes on the paper. And the wetter, see if we can get a little more. And you can move it however you want. So you can see how it makes this fun little designs. And you can bring in, I'm gonna, just for fun, use this yellow. Again, when you change colors, clean off your brush. So I'm gonna bring in this yellow to see what it does. And I just love how with the water, the colors, the design just runs and creates its own thing. And I really, really like that. Again, I apologize that the colors just don't show up as beautifully as they are, as I can see them with my eye here. So another thing you can do is to take your crayon, let some of this dry a little bit more, and make a design I've got some salt here. Make a design. You could write a word, some word that really feels good to you. I like the word joy or peace or believe. Or you can just make some design that you want, some lines and shapes as you wish. Or you can actually draw something, whatever it is you might want to draw. I'm going to just do a sort of a little doodle. You want to kind of make sure you get it covered. Like when you draw kind of slow and press so it's really getting on there. So I'm just going to make a funny little house shape that has a, what do you call those? Chimneys. And we'll give it a door. And then I'm going to make, just because I like whimsy, I'm going to make like this big flower growing outside that house. And my crayon broke off a little bit. I am going to brush off the parts that come off to keep it away from the paint. I'll just draw part of a leaf over here. Probably won't be able to see it very well. So the fun thing, I just love, because then you see what happens when you paint over it. And I think, use what you think will contrast the most. So I would use either the red or the blue in my case, and I'm just going to go with the blue and see. I'm going to paint over it. And then you see how this comes out really clearly. So you can see what you created, and it makes such a fun effect with the crayon resisting the paint, and the paint going everywhere else except for where the crayon is. And you could use two colors. And in fact, let's just do that for fun. Let's put in some yellow, because we know that's going to create this fun green. Yellow and blue, it's going to create some kind of a green. Again, I still want to change my colors. Clean my brush. So I'm going to leave it like that, where it's just kind of faded into. So again, I don't know how well you can see that. I hope you can see it well. I'm trying to hold it up closer to a different angle to see if that works, but it's so much fun, and I highly recommend you give that a try. Another thing we can do is with the wet on wet kind of effect, where you again clean your brush, make sure your water's clean, and put water then again across your space that you want to paint in. This is just some fun watercolor play. And then I like to take a couple of colors. And since we did blue and yellow and kind of made a green, I'll go over here with some yellow and red, which of course is going to give us some fun orange color. So I'm going to go ahead and just put some wet into the wet, and then go into my my red right up to it, and just let it see what it does, just see where the colors take you. And the other thing that I really like to do is just kind of, sometimes I make it like really wet, and you can just pick it up and let it run and see what it does. I just love that. Then you're going to create different colors and different swirls. Isn't that cool? I mean, I just love that. And just have fun with it. And I noticed, I was just thinking about this, if I can still find it, the little top from your paintbrush, you might not even be able to see it. It's so tiny and it's clear. I really like polka dots. So you can, when your paint's still pretty wet, actually that's probably a little too wet there in the middle where I've gotten carried away with my water, but you can cover something that's round. That's a teeny tiny round thing. Let's see how that works. I'm going to use my paper towel over it and just see if I can get it to pick up some of the paint. It might be too wet quite now. Again, anytime you blot with the paper towel, it's going to pick it up. It doesn't seem to be. You can also see at some point if you can make some circles. I mean, just play with stuff. It's so much fun. I have this really wet, so that needs to dry a little bit more. Oh, the other thing I do want to mention is splattering, which is also fun. You think I might have already splattered, but I have not yet. So on this blue, I'm going to get some yellow paint on my brush, and you need to get a fair amount. Just kind of get some water in there and get a good bunch of paint on there. And just, you can splatter different ways, but one way is just by knocking the paint onto from the brush. You see it splattering. It's a little hard to see. Hopefully you can see that. And it makes a fun effect there too. You actually can also, I'm not sure which one I have that might work with this, but you can do some water, pure water. Let's see if I can get one to take it away. It's not going to do it right now. It's too wet. I'm trying to remember. Oh, there's one other thing I do want to share with you is for a nice texture kind of effect. You can dry off your brush. Make sure it's clean, nice and clean. I think mine is, yeah. And get it really, really dry. And you don't want to put water really into your paint. So you want to get a little paint on there though. And just, and it's not dry enough. See if we can get a drier part. There you can kind of see the effect where it's going to give a sort of feathery effect, a texture effect. I don't know if you can see that. Sometimes that's not my favorite thing, but I do like the texture that it creates. So it has a place for it. I'm going to mention too, making colors on your palette. So if you want, for example, I'd kind of like to have some more green. So that is yellow and blue. So I'm going to put some of my yellow paint in here. Again, I'm going to clean my brush before I go to my next color. And I'm going to go into the blue. And I'm going to just put those together and make this lovely green I'm making. I like it. So, and I do want to mention to you, if you like to do some leaves, really with this brush, you can kind of do some cool, you know, leaf effect as a design just by using the side of your paintbrush. So you can make designs, you know, on your paper, like going down the side of the paper, kind of like I'm doing here, which I'm usually not too good at keeping things straight. That one got a little off, didn't it? And maybe if you're doing a holiday design, you might want to go into your red and just make some little berries by some little dots. And have some sort of holly berries. Maybe it's, you can pretend it's mistletoe, whatever. You know, so just have fun playing with it. And again, as I told you, I'm really a big fan of dots. So I'm going to just kind of make some fun dots here. Remembering again, the more water you have, the more it's going to spread around. So you can just make a design. The less water, the more intense. Just kind of make a sort of, and this could go, this would easily fit on a nice gift card, as this size of this paper is much like the gift card. So I think that I have covered all the things I want to cover right now. And again, just play. It's all about having fun and playing. I was going to show you, I already did show you those. Okay, so pick up whatever you want to do and start playing. You know, think about in your mind what you want to design, or just play. You can also finish off your bookmark one side and let it totally dry and go to the other side. And that is something I want to mention. Once your paint is totally dry, if there's something that you want to put on top of that, you can. You also can put another color, which is kind of like a glaze. If you want to put some yellow, say, as a glaze across here, just to make a different color, which you probably can't see very well in this lighting, unfortunately. Well, hopefully I've given you some techniques for you to think about and enjoy. This is not totally dry, but I really kind of want to show you the effect, so I'm going to knock off some of it, the salt. Nah, it's going to ruin it. but you kind of get the idea. It's going to be white where the salt was, these little white flakes. It's really fun. I think she had done that here on hers, so I'll show it, see if you can see it at all. But right in here, she had given the salt a try. Looks like a mountain with beautiful sky, doesn't it? Have fun, and please share them with us. And we'd love to see what you do with them. Enjoy.